Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast, episode number 76, the Jody Beth Walker story, and her big Kentucky buck, Medusa. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level.
Hey, this is Dr. Carl Miller, and you're listening to my favorite hunting podcast on the internet, the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
This is Jim Koger with TrophyPursuit.com, and you're listening to Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Hi, this is Jared Scheffler from Whitetail Adrenaline. You're listening to my favorite hunting podcast ever, Jay and Dusty on the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Siri, play Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast.
Okay, Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast coming up.
Thank you. Welcome. This is Jay Sky, your host of the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. Happy hunting. Dusty is on the other line with me right now. And
Yo.
Checking in from Ohio. What's going on, Dusty?
Man, I tell you, one of the toughest weeks. Ohio deer gun is upon us, and it's one of them things where it's either hit or miss. It's either going to happen deer gun week or it's not. And it seems like it's not going to happen this year. I don't know. Here it is, Saturday. Mm-hmm. Ohio deer gun. We got one more day after today. Mm-hmm. Goes out Sunday. We'll see what happens.
So you get a couple days left, and you're kind of feeling that that doom and gloom not going to happen this year kind of thing.
It seems like it's not going to happen, period, this year. I don't know, man. It's been a tough season, and I know all the followers and listeners are, some of you is probably in the same boat as I am. It's been a tough year.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that there are several people listening right now that are in the same boat. I'm kind of feeling that way, to be honest. I've been hunting hard all season, had some close encounters, had a foggy scope, and couldn't get a shot off at one I would have taken this late in the season. Wasn't a monster, but it certainly wasn't the smallest deer in the woods either.
Right on.
So, yeah, I'm feeling your frustration. But that's hunting. That's hunting.
Yeah, I agree. The conditions just ain't been right. It's been a little warm here. It's kind of unseasonably warm. Have some 60-degree weather. It's been tough. It's been one of them years like, wow. It's almost like, where's the snow and where's the cold weather to get these deer on their feet? They a big buck don't want to die. That's a fact.
Right. A
big buck does not want to die. But, a big buck is going to do everything to stay living. So therefore, he's got to move when it's cold. And man, it just ain't, them conditions just ain't set in here yet.
Right. Yeah, you've had an unseasonably warm November, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We did get a little bit of snow early November, and now that December's in our lap, it's not quite right. The temperatures just, we're still cracking the 45s, and it's like, man, come on, cold weather, set in and be here and get everything where it's hungry, it's got to move, it's got to survive.
Yeah, I just saw a weather report from some weather channel, and it said that we're in for an unusually warm December, and that November was a little colder than usual, but anything east of the Mississippi from like Kentucky up is going to have warmer than normal December.
It's kind of weird.
Yep. We have snow on the ground here in New Hampshire, and it's actually a very heavy snowfall that fell a little before Thanksgiving and knocked power out for 4 days. But to the hunters, it was a blessing because the deer, it was a little warm. Some deer were being taken, but in New Hampshire, where there's a smaller herd, you just pray for snow.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
And you get into the tracking mode where you can just roam. And that's how you track down a lot of the big deer at this time of year, because the tracks tell the tale. And that's what happened to me. I actually bumped into a big deer. And, of course, it was the one day that it decided to warm up to 40 degrees and all the snow that was clinging to the trees was just falling and covered my scope, and it was just inevitable. It was going to get foggy no matter how good a scope it was.
Will you make that mistake again?
I will not. I needed open sights, or I needed one of those flip covers on the scope. So guess what I'm asking for Christmas?
Ho, ho, ho.
God, I've been thinking about that ever since that day. But
I did call Santa.
You did?
Yeah, and I had a conversation with him, and I said, Santa, listen up here. And he was all happy, good, jolly.
As he usually is.
Yeah, and he said, Dusty, what would you like for Christmas, young man? I said, all I want for Christmas is a broadside shot.
That's right.
That's all I want.
Is that too much to ask?
No, I mean, absolutely not.
Right. Amazing. So we've had this review on the iTunes account, Dusty, and I wanted to read it to you.
Shoot.
Because it's kind of interesting, and it's from P.A. John. And P.A. John, if you're listening, and I suspect that you are, because you said in your review that you actually do listen to all the podcasts. So I want to first thank you for your review. But I want to go over this because I'm not quite understanding it. It says, good topics, good guest, but I think there's too much brown nosing. Let's hear your real thoughts. Seriously, I listen to every single podcast. Glad you're rid of Fredman Buck. Thank you, Dusty. So that's from P.A. John. P.A. John, if you're listening, I'd love a little more elaboration on the brown nosing piece of this. Jay at bigbuckregistry.com. I just like to kind of hear you out on that. And we just love feedback anyway, so don't feel like we're not going to rip you apart. Just want to know.
Yeah, man, did he really say get rid of officer? He's glad Officer Fredman Buck's gone?
That's what he said.
Oh, man, Fredman Buck's just a good time. That's all. He's no harm, no foul. It's just something that we can have a little fun with.
Yeah. I like Fredman Buck, but maybe he's just saying that we don't talk about our own thoughts enough. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. But we're going to take your advice, and we're going to talk about some things.
But P.A. John, please send me an email. Just break that down a little bit more on that brown nosing. I'd like to hear that a little bit more. So we do have a great show coming up, but before we get to that, I want to talk about one more thing. We're going to speak to Jody Beth Walker and talk about her big Kentucky Medusa buck.
Medusa buck.
Yep. But one of the things that came up this week on the Facebook page, it's a bit controversial, and it's about blood. Blood in your photo op with the big buck that you shot. He posted a picture of a deer that had a decent amount of blood, and it wasn't like it had been dipped in blood by any means, but there was enough coming out of the kill shot. It was a bow shot, and it was enough kind of dripping down the side of the deer. And clearly the guy was in the moment. When you're in the field and you just shot your big deer and you finally recovered it, you're going to start snapping photos the minute that you can get that camera out. So
absolutely,
it's probably secondary on your mind is to clean up that deer before you take the photo. So my question is, should you as a hunter clean up the deer before the photo op, or should you just let it be part of the picture? And here's one of the points is that a few of the hunters had private messaged me, and there were several comments that made reference to the anti-hunters having more argument or fight because of the pictures that had the blood in it. What are your thoughts on that?
It's one of them things where I've made some, right in a boiler room shots, and yeah, it's been pretty messy.
Right.
Well,
it's part of deer hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree to that 100%. And it's one of them things where it just all depends on, it's a toss up. How bad really was it? That's the question. Is it something that needs to be addressed? Probably not. From the picture that I seen, it's nothing serious.
Right.
Now, if you're holding a deer by the hind leg and you got the cavity area that you just cleaned out exposed, now there's a problem. You're going to kill a buck. You're going to have some blood, no doubt about it. There's no question there. It's part of hunting. There's no question about it. Is it fuel for a fire for anti? Absolutely not in my eyes.
Right. And that's the way I feel. I don't feel that blood in a picture gives them any more or less fuel than they already have. The very fact that we have a page completely dedicated to killing big deer is enough for them. That's all they need.
Right. Yeah, I agree to that. It just seems like maybe you're on the wrong page if that offended you.
Well, I don't know if it's on the wrong page. I just, I'm not going to pussyfoot around the anti-hunter's desire because, well, they're just vile, disconnected individuals anyway. So I'm going to post the picture as long as it's within reason.
Yeah, agreed. What I was saying there is that somebody that's down on somebody for their kill shot and their picture that they post, it's just one of them things where we're all hunters and we all need to stand together.
Right.
And we're all going to get blood on our hands. Yeah, some carry rubber gloves. Some don't prefer to get down and get dirty with their harvest.
Right.
Okay, that's fine. But when it's a entry or exit wound in a picture, that's part of hunting.
Right on. That's the way I feel. And if you're deep in the woods, you don't have a stream nearby, are you going to go dip your deer off in the stream before you take the picture?
I'm going to say no on that. I would never do that.
I'm not going to go do that.
That's bacteria trying to, that's infesting your meat with bacteria.
Yeah, I would rather have a bloody photo than bad meat.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
Right.
That's just one of the things where it's almost like something that just is useless argument.
Yeah.
It's a hunting picture.
It's a hunting picture. It's going on the page. I'm not going to exclude a picture of a deer because it has blood in the photo if it's a nice buck.
One thing that I can admit to on a photo is I try to tuck their tongue in. That's something that I try to take in my own hands, do that before I take pictures. It's just a personal thing to me.
Right.
It's respect to the animal.
Let's talk about the photo etiquette. Now, ideally, yes, you do want to clean off the blood, and ideally you want to tuck the tongue in, and then you want to have a nice side-by-side shot of you behind the deer holding the antlers. That's the perfect shot, right? And preferably
Correct.
with a background of the area that you shot it in.
Absolutely.
That would be perfect.
Absolutely. But the
perfect, reality is
the perfect shot is not always there.
No, perfect shot is not always there. Sometimes you're deep in the woods. You don't have access to, I don't know, take some leaves. You don't bring a roll of paper towels with you just to clean the blood off, I guess is my point.
Well, we may be onto something.
Right.
Maybe we had to have like a pitcher prep kit that you can put in your pack to go in.
There you go. More stuff. That's what we need. More stuff for a bag. That's not what I want. But I mean, if you get the deer back to camp and then you want to take some more photos, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Clean it up, make it right, do it right, and then you got some excellent pictures. But there's going to be in the moment pictures pop up. That's the way it is.
And to be honest, those are the ones that are the more real photos that I like, that I think deserve to be on the Big Buck Registry podcast website. And I'd rather have those than the doctored up one, really, because it's almost artistic. It's the real thing. It's telling the real story.
Absolutely.
So, all right, enough about that rant. Let's one other thing I want to bring up real quick is about the no man's land. Yeah, you've heard of this, Dusty.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that gap between the lungs and the spine, and somebody wanted to know if that was a real thing. And anatomically, yes, it is on a buck. And so I posted the question. We had overwhelming responses that yes, in fact, it is. And then we got a ton of pictures sent in with photos of deer that had been shot in what I'm sure appeared to be the kill zone at the moment of the shot, with deer with arrows stuck in this one area. Still walking around, seemed totally fine.
Unbelievable. Tough. Deer are tough.
Yep. And it's just above the lungs, just below the spine. And it's I swear, it's probably 3-4 inches of what you would call the ideal kill shot zone, where you got the lungs and the heart. Like it's probably 4 inches north of the heart itself. And of course you'd be thinking, I got it. But then,
for sure.
Then they run off.
And then you find a little blood.
Mm-hmm.
Then you find nothing.
Right.
And 2 weeks later, you see that buck or doe right back in your area on a trail camera.
Yep. The number of pictures that I have sent in of deer that have holes in that area or with actual arrows sticking out of them is tremendous. So there is no question that this area exists. So no man's land is real. All right, let's move on to our guest of the day, Jody Beth Walker from Kentucky.
Are you ready for this?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for this or not. She's a passionate woman, a passionate deer hunter.
I got to say, she's like a firecracker.
She is a firecracker. And The way Jody describes it is I can't give you 2 minutes to describe my deer hunt. I'm going to need all 45.
That's awesome. It's unbelievable what this hunt meant to Jody.
Yes.
That the passion and the determination and the drive and the willingness and the heart to go do this.
Yes. She does have a bit of the tongue that is a bit on edge. She likes to swear a little bit. So when I
could be real interesting.
It is, and I had to edit it out because this is a clean show. But you'll notice as we talk to Jody where she drops some foul language. But we cannot discredit her for her passion for the outdoors and for hunting and her connection to the outdoors and God. That's really what she goes out there for. But she swears like a trucker. So wow, it's just going to be the story. We cut her loose to tell the story. Yes.
And we could have said no. Let's clean it up. Let's do this. But it wasn't the story as Jody was wanting to tell it. Yeah. So therefore,
when we were doing the interview, we both said, just let it roll, Jody. I'll take care of the other stuff later because I don't want you to be focused on say this, say that. I just want the passion to come through, and it did. She nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more to that. It was one of them. We said, let her rip, Tater Chip, and she did. And it turned out really good, forewarning, there's quite a few beeps in here. So, I mean, it's part of the story.
It's part of the story. And don't worry, there's no bad language. I was able to successfully remove it all, but I left the passion in. So let's get Jody on the line and tune in to her interview with the big Kentucky buck that she killed called Medusa.
Let's get her on.
Jody Beth Walker, welcome to the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Couldn't be better. It's deer season.
It is deer season.
It truly is my favorite time of year.
Yeah, mine too. It's my favorite season.
Yeah. So, Jody, you kind of caught our attention. And there's this amazing picture of this giant buck that showed up on our Facebook page. And I'm like, what is that? And there has to be a story behind this deer.
Yes, there is. I won't even commit to tell the story if someone wants just to ask me about that minute, unless that they can give me 30 to 45 minutes of their time, because every moment was crucial.
Perfect.
That is so perfect what you just said. We love storytelling, and we especially love deer storytelling, deer hunt storytelling. Yes. That's our favorite. So that's why we started this, and because you said that, I know this is going to go great. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Jody, tell us where you are right now.
I am in London, Kentucky.
What's going on in London, Kentucky?
Well, I am a single mom, 2 kids, full-time student.
Gotcha.
Full-time safety director. I work in the coal industry.
Wow.
And full-time outdoor enthusiast.
So let's talk about the safety director at a coal project. That's some heavy-duty stuff right there.
It is. I work in a predominantly male field. I work with all men. And I'm 5'1", so I mean, and you can just figure what a day looks like in my life.
Right, and you're not a coworker. You're the director of safety.
Right.
So this is a big deal. You gotta deal with some heavy duty stuff on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. When the feds show up, they're there to talk to me, or when the state shows up, they're there to talk to me. Like I'm the go-to, and I love the challenge. I do. I love the challenge, and I'm very passionate about it.
What's it take to be the safety director of a coal mining outfit?
Yeah, I am. I started doing an internship with them to be able to complete my degree. And after I completed my internship, they offered me a full-time salary position as their safety director. And I took it. And I am right now, after this week, I'll have 2 weeks until graduation. So I'm already utilizing my degree before I even have it.
That's fantastic. So I would classify you as a go-getter. You don't sit back. You go get the things that you want. Is that accurate?
Right. That would be pretty correct.
All right. Excellent. So what brought you to the coal industry in the first place?
Actually, the whole time, I've been in school 4.5 years, and the whole time I was in school, I did not see myself ending up working in the coal industry, because it's a pretty, I could do anything with it, any place that, has safety or whatever, I could do that. And I didn't see myself ending up in the coal industry. But I guess God had other plans, because that's exactly where I ended up. And I love it.
Interesting. So one of those places you didn't really have any inspiration about in the beginning, but it kind of grew on you.
It did. And the personality and the atmosphere, the coal miners are some of the best people that I've ever met in my entire life. I mean, they just have a different type of personality and just great people.
Gotcha. So you're from Kentucky originally?
Yes.
Gotcha. Where'd you grow up?
Whitler County.
All right. What was life like growing up in Kentucky?
Well, I am, I know where the fun's at. And as a kid, I knew where the fun was at. And I knew it was in being outside, and I've always been one that was constantly seeking thrills.
Gotcha.
If it's knocking down the hornet's nest and then run for your life, that's what we did.
That's great.
That's fantastic. So you're a thrill seeker.
Yes.
Gotcha. What were you like in high school?
In high school,
Popular? Were you popular in high school?
Yeah, kind of like infamous, really.
Infamous. We haven't had that yet. That's pretty good. All right. Tell us more. Why were you infamous in high school? What'd you do?
Well, let's just say I took a little detour down some, I found out I was allergic to anything that was motor mind altering.
All right.
And by allergic, I mean, it's not good. And I learned that I can't do those things because I don't know when to stop. So I had to learn over the course of the last 5 years how to replace that thrill seeking with something that's positive.
Gotcha. So what'd you do? What'd you end up doing to replace that?
I hunt and I fish.
Hunt and fish.
And I enjoy being outside with Mother Nature. Like, it calms the savage beast, within, and it cleanses my soul.
Right. I'm with you on that. Dusty, how about you?
Absolutely. It's there's nothing else out there like it.
No, and I do believe it is soul cleansing. Helps you kind of focus in on the important things in life.
Yeah.
It really
I
does.
just feel connected.
Yeah.
Connected when I'm outside, and I'm whether I'm sitting in a tree or whatever I'm doing, to all living things. And I'm one with nature, and it's it puts everything back into proper perspective, because I get caught up in day-to-day monotony, responsibilities and all this stuff, and it's not what's important. So when I go to the woods, it's not just for the kill. It is for a peace of mind. It is for clarity, putting my life back into proper priorities and perspective.
Right. Very well said. So what drew you to hunting in the first place? I mean, you're looking for a thrill-seeking alternative, something that wouldn't get you in trouble. And hunting is an option, obviously, but it doesn't just appear. What led you there? How'd you get into hunting in the first place? Did you have a mentor or somebody that kind of showed you the ropes?
I come from a long line of hunters and fishermen, and it was just, I always felt safe when I was outside.
Nice.
I always felt secure. When I'm in the wilderness, it just, it's kind of like you sense and embrace the miracle of life and of living, and that's what draws me to it.
Right. And that makes total sense to me. All right. So you're into deer hunting. Let's kind of break down some of your hunts, or some of your hunting techniques. I'd like Dusty to kind of walk us through some of your gear setup, some of the things that you prep for. Dusty, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're in Kentucky. What kind of camouflage do you use in Kentucky?
I use real tree.
Real tree. Just standard real tree? Is it AP?
All my stuff is Under Armour, and it all matches. I got some badass hunting gear, and it looks really good in it. And you have camouflage bibs. I don't wear a lot of pink. I don't even like pink. People would you like some pink camouflage or something? They aggravate me over at my favorite hunting store over here about that. Because they know that, for me, that, getting shot with a pink gun will be the worst death that anyone could ever suffer. That will be crippling to my ego. I'm just no, I have no interest in anything pink. So I wear basic camouflage, with the hunter safety orange. I stay away from the pink. Right.
Do you spray yourself down with any kind of scent cover?
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, I sacrifice. I'm a woman, so I like to smell good. But 2 weeks before season ever comes in, I sacrifice it all. I wash in no scent shampoo. no scent deodorant. This is 2 weeks. I wash all my clothes in no scent detergent, and then I bag my stuff up. I will cleanse my stuff only to put it in with this thing that makes it smell just like dirt, which makes no sense to normal people, but it makes perfect sense to me.
Right, yeah. It's going in there smelling like dirt. The deer are used to the dirt smell. It's understandable. So you wear real tree camouflage, and you obviously 2 weeks in advance put your things in scent-free detergent and bag them up.
Yeah, and then I don't use anything with any scent on it in my personal hygiene, until that it's over.
You start this 2 weeks out.
Yep.
Now, why 2 weeks? What's so important about the 2 week time?
Because the buck's nose is the enemy. They can smell it. They're not like turkeys is their eyes. With the bucks, it's obviously their sense of smell.
Right.
So I don't take any chances with that.
Do you think that if you started the day before, it would alter your chances?
Well, I can tell you that I've tried that, and my hunts were not successful.
Interesting. So you've experimented with this whole theory?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's been trial and error.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I use on top of that, I spray myself down. I hunt by myself, and I have all my gear in a backpack, obviously, and then I've got my rifle, and her name is Perseverance. And, she is so beautiful. You can't even, she's the prettiest gun ever. Okay. I use a Remington Model 270 BDL. She's got the silver Buckmaster's Nikon scope on top that matches the silver trigger and everything. She's just beautiful.
It sounds beautiful.
It is. She doesn't have a scratch on her. I'm very careful about that right there because, I become emotionally attached to bows, guns, stuff like that, more than I do people. I don't know what it is. It's just something that I'm just drawn to. And we have this commitment to each other. And once I had that with a gun or bow or whatever, I can't ever part with it. I can't even discuss it. People want to talk about it. I'm like, no, you don't understand. That has never happened. Because I come from a long line of gun traders too. So.
No kidding. There's going to be guys going, get her number to us before you hang up with her.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So you like to hunt alone, Jody?
Yes, I do.
What's the reason behind that?
Because then it's just me and time with God. And that's why I do it. Time with God and time with myself.
Right.
That's my relationship with myself. That's what I do to feed my spirit.
That's awesome. I think that's very commendable. It's kind of the way I do it too. I like to hunt alone, generally speaking. Let's start getting into this particular hunt that we're talking about tonight. The big deer that you shot this year. Do you have a name for the buck by any chance?
Yeah, his name's Medusa.
Medusa. All right, let's get into it.
But he's got all that stick coming out of his head.
I like it. I like that a lot. Actually, that's a very clever term for a big buck with lots of stuff coming out of their head. Let's break that down. Let's get into the big buck breakdown and talk about the details of this particular hunt. We got a little bit about your prep. Tell us about when you started this hunt, and this may go before the day of the hunt. Tell us about the preparation.
Okay. Well, I have to back up.
Yep.
Because I stalk deer obsessively. That is legal to do that, and I do that. I will have 5 cameras. And I'm on it, and that's what I was doing in Whitley County, which is where I'm from. But obviously, that's not where that I killed the buck. I got lost a couple times because I was setting out my cameras in Whitley County in places you couldn't throw a rabbit through. It was some big because I don't care to get in there and work. And I come out 7 miles from my 4-wheeler the first time, and then I got lost in going back in the second time to find the camera. So obviously I was told that a lot and joked on real hard about, the whole getting lost. And I said to my cousins and my family, they were saying that, I'm like, that's okay, keep laughing because God blesses those that everybody else laughs at. Of course, it was a wound to my pride, getting lost, but that's okay. There was just something I just felt different about this whole season. So, a week before opening day, I had a horrible nightmare. I dreamed that I was sitting and there was this big, huge buck, and he was just dancing and laughing at me during this dream. And I'm like, I reached to go and grab my gun, my bow, whatever, just something to just shoot him, and I have nothing. So that was a nightmare. I was that whole next day. It took me a while to shake that one off. And I'm like, okay, that's a sign.
Right. So you had a nightmare. That's crazy.
Yes,
Like
about a huge buck.
Tell us who owns this land that you shot this buck on. You said you was hunting a place you normally wouldn't be.
Now what?
You say that you're hunting a place that you didn't have your trail cameras set up on very long at. Tell us who are you hunting on a piece of public, private? Tell us a little bit about the land.
I hunt private, okay? In Willie County, I hunt on my family's land, but that's what I'm fixing to tell you. Instead of going where I'd put all this work in for months, just my gut, I was offered to go to Morgan County and hunt on some friends' property up there. And, I hunted up there a couple years ago and it was unsuccessful. But just my gut says maybe, you might. And I think that sounded crazy to a lot of people when I told them, I'm not even hunting down here. I'm going to Morgan County. And I made that decision like a week before that I went. So what happens is Friday, I tell my boss I'm leaving after lunch because it's a free air trip. Okay, I've had my stuff loaded in my truck since Tuesday, ready to go.
I love it.
Like for 3 days.
Nice.
Yeah, I was just on fire, ready.
Oh,
and I get up there, and the landowner, he's got like 3 different stands set up, and he's like, you can hunt from whichever one you want to. And I'm looking, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to hunt out any of the stands. Because I found a scrape line. There was 5 scrapes within a quarter of a mile radius. And I'm like, this is it. And he's like, and then there was a rock like 40 foot up above where that I could watch that scrape line. I'm like, I'll sit right there. I made the decision where I was going to hunt, on that rock Friday evening, and open Saturday morning.
Interesting. And this was all based on the location of the scrapes that you found.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I wasn't hunting for convenience. I wasn't hunting for comfort. I was hunting just to be outside, calm the savage beast, and go where the deer was.
Makes sense to me. I get that.
Yeah.
Tell me about the scrapes. What were they like? What made you think that this was a big buck running around?
Well, because they were huge, and they were, you know how a buck will make a scrape right under a little tree.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, and I'm like, that's got to be a fucking enormous deer because even up high in the branches, there's stuff that's broke off, and I'm just, I'm 5'1", it is way taller than me. I was like, damn.
Interesting.
And when I'm walking that Friday evening, I have this doe heat that came from a whitetail farm, and I put it on my boots as I'm walking Friday evening. That way, that scent would be there
right
when I came in there before daylight Saturday morning. And let me tell you, that was right on.
So you're prepping for a little doe and heat activity on your boots. You're in the right spot. You're on a rock. How'd you pick the rock? I
picked it because I could see more, obviously, and sitting up on a high point like that than I could, being down further, like right on where that it was at. And I could see over in the bottom on the other side. And I thought, that's just where I'll sit because and I could tell that there had been a buck that had been there like the night before, like Thursday night.
Okay.
Because it was all fresh stuff.
How often do you turn to the fresh stuff to determine that that's going to where you're going to hunt? Do you do that a lot, or is this just something you tried differently this time?
Well, I had went in previous years. I had went, just where there were scrapes, and I hadn't, checked to see if they were fresh or not. I was just like, well, this is a scrape, and this will be a good place, because in Willie County I have like 4 tree stands. Okay, I'm obsessive whenever it comes to this, but I'm learning that unless a deer has been there recently, and bucks, when they get in a rut, they go crazy. They lose their mind, and they change their behavior. And you can sit and watch a buck for months on your trail camera and then not see him whenever the season finally opens. And I'm like, no, I want to go where he's been using recently, and that's what I did.
That makes sense. Dusty, what do you think about that technique?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more to that. You see fresh shine, it's usually an obvious pinpoint that he's been there recently. Get on him right there.
The fresher, the better, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, gotcha. All right, Jody, let's continue with the story.
Okay, so doe heat. I use it. I've had good experiences with it, obviously, recently, but I've also had bad experiences with it.
So did you say doe and heat?
Yeah, doe heat.
Doe heat.
Gotcha.
You said you've had bad experiences with this stuff as well, not just good. Tell us more about that.
Well, I'm one of those hunters. I like to see some action whenever that I come in, and if I'm not seeing any by the time that the sun comes up, I usually get one and take a nap. Well, last year, I got underneath one of those pink droopers,
yep,
and I got it in my hair.
Oh, boy.
And I kept it in there for a couple of days. And in those couple of days times, I could write a book on my experience with that. I mean, it was like, I thought about writing a book, then I'm like, no, it would probably be a bestseller or something. And then you wouldn't have these stories to tell, like whenever you're with your buddies. So I decided not to write the book. But anyways, I had experiences. I was obviously tired one evening. I was coming up the hill, like an elephant coming through there because I was tired. I was taking that heavy gun. It was a straight up and down hill. And I could just feel something looking at me. You know how you can just sense it, like something's watching you and you ain't even seen it yet. And like, so I stopped and there's this little doe that comes out, just the prettiest little doe you ever seen. And I meant no harm to her, and I think that she could sense that, but she was also smelling. Like, and I'm like, what the hell? It seemed like a dream or something, you know, like a trip or something, because she's just getting closer and closer and closer. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do, pet her or what? You know, I mean, she was getting close. I was just probed. You know, I didn't want to shoot the doe, but I'm thinking she's got to be a lesbian deer.
Okay, that's what came to your mind.
Yeah, I'm like, she's wanting bread, and that's not even happening like that. So I moved, obviously, and scared her off. But the morning that I killed the big buck, I'm wearing the doe. I'm on the ground. See, I'm on this rock, but I'm also on the ground. I'm not in a stand, which is kind of dangerous, which I like. You know, it definitely makes it interesting. And
sure.
There was no danger of me taking a nap that morning, you know, because I knew I had that stuff on my boots. And I'm sitting out there, you know, I get out there, I get up before daylight. I see two on the way in, and I'm like, hell yeah. And I get out there, and I've been sitting there 5 minutes, and here come two does coming in there, running those straight lines. And I was like, hell yeah. I was like, yes. I was like, this is it. Boom. I'm watching all kinds of deer activity. I'm just pumped. And I'm a smoker, but I decided right there that I wasn't going to smoke because I was going to keep the scent down and I was going to be committed to this hunt. Like I wasn't going to do anything that I've read not to do.
Gotcha.
And here comes this little spike, right, from the bottom of the hill. He's coming up around the side of me, and I can see he keeps winding. You know, he's winding because he smells me. He likes what he's smelling. And he's coming around the side, and then he's behind me, obviously, me sitting down on this rock. I'm like, God, go away, you little bastard, because I didn't want to move and spook the other deer and decrease the activity. But I had no choice because he's coming up behind me. He's like 5 foot, fixing to step out on this rock. And it's a 40-foot drop on the other side.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
This is not good.
Behind
you.
This
is not good at all.
The drop is behind you on the backside of the rock?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes, and he's fixing to step over there, and he's not scared. I mean, he obviously was not paying attention. He had one thing on his mind, and I knew it was not going to go down like that. I was not going to get worried about a spike. I mean, he had a little bit of time horns on top of his head. I was sitting there going, no, you know, I didn't want to move, and I thought he would figure out that I was not anything he'd be interested in, but he didn't. He just kept coming. So I eventually, you know, I had to move my arm. Whenever he was about to step on that rock, I had to spook him off, and he ran off like a gut-shot cat.
Gotcha.
And then I didn't see anything for 30 minutes. 30 minutes, maybe 45. I didn't see nothing, so I started smoking cigarettes.
What time of day is this, by the way?
What time of day is it?
Yeah.
It's about 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, okay.
Yep, I had seen all kinds of activity, deer activity, watched some small bucks, and all kinds of does. I mean, it was a good day, lots of activity going on, and then that happened, and I didn't see anything. So I broke my commitment and started smoking cigarettes. I smoked probably 5 and 10 minutes. I mean, I was just madder than hell. Gotcha. And I decided it would be a good time to move. So, like I said, I'm sitting on a cliff that drops off about 40 foot, and there is a tree that fell over, and its roots and everything was sticking up, and I thought, you know, I can lay on my belly and take a rest right there. And that's what I do, and that's a safer location, you know, than being out here on this rock. So that's what I did. I got over there and I moved, and smoking.
So you're smoking, you're laying down.
Smoking a cigarette.
Taking a nap.
No,
Seriously?
I'm not taking a nap. I'm just laying on my belly.
Just
I'm
laying
like,
down. Okay.
Yep, just laying on my belly that way because my gun's heavy.
Gotcha.
You know, I'm a smaller framed woman, so I thought it would be better, you know, for me to just be able to use those. What I did was I used the roots to take a rest.
Yep.
And I'm laying on my stomach. And I'm sitting there, and I finally start seeing some activity again. There's a smaller buck that comes in down in that bottom, and a doe. And way on down further in the bush, I see horns. And if you guys could see me right now, you'd be seeing what I was doing. I'm taking my arms up, and I'm showing a big rack.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, you got buck fever.
Just this big
You're crazy.
scoop of a rack that's just the width of your arms or wider.
Yeah. I'm like, you're crazy.
How far away is this?
Well, I would think, I haven't measured it, but the landowner said, he called me a dead-eye dick, and he said that's 150, 200 yards, because he was, listen, from the time that I spotted that in there and thought I had buck fever and thought that was brush, I thought, you're crazy, you got buck fever. I said, look through your crosshairs. I'm talking to myself. I'm like, just look through your crosshairs. It took me forever to find him. I mean, he was a smart deer. He never came out of the brush. He never came out from under his cover. So,
smart
anyways, I look and I see the horns, and I thought again, that's just some big brush, because that's all I could see was his horns. And I'm like, you got buck fever, you're crazy as hell, you need to calm down, you're seeing shit. And I thought, look one more time. And the third time that I looked, I could see his ear, and it moved. And in that moment, I was like, what the, oh my God, holy, I mean, you could just imagine, because he's a monster. And then this is how my thought process goes. I go, if you don't kill this buck, no one's ever going to believe you even seen one this big, because he had not been spotted. There was no pictures of this buck, nothing. I'm like, no one's going to believe you. If you shoot and miss, you'll never forgive yourself. Or if you won this trophy buck, you'll never forgive yourself. So the longest 30 minutes of my life took place next. Okay, I'm sitting there, and all I can see is his horns in one ear, and I can see him raise his head and winding. He was winding, and he was like, listen, he knowed he was the shit. He knowed he was the king of the forest. He was watching the other bucks. He wasn't even sweating that, because he knows he could have his pick of the ladies.
Right.
So I see him raise that nose up, and I'm just like, oh, my God. So I'm sweating, I'm quivering all over, and I finally see him set that front leg up, and I can see it in my crosshairs. So I pulled off my face mask. That way there was nothing obstructing my vision, nothing.
And this buck's still about 150 yards out?
Yes.
Okay.
And I said my prayers. I'm like, I don't even know what I prayed, all right? But I knew that I was praying for a kill, and, I said my prayers, and I exhaled. And I had to wait a second until that I could, make sure that I was steady. And I exhaled, and I pulled the trigger. He didn't go maybe 50 foot. Okay, and I'm home by myself. And I know that, like, a miracle has just occurred in my life. Like, the greatest moment of my life has just happened. And I'm shaking all over. And somehow I maintained my composure enough. I called the landowner. And I just kept it real simple. I was like, I need you to come up here. And he was like, why did you shoot one? And I was like, yeah. And I just hung up. I didn't say bye or nothing. He was like, I'll see you in 20 minutes. I just hung up.
Gotcha.
And, like, that was a long 20 minutes, too, waiting on him to get there. And whenever he pulls up, he's got his wife with him, who's also a Sunday school teacher. And they get there, and they're not noticing my trembling yet. It was obvious for the next 24 hours after this happened. I was field jerking all over. But he's like, where was it? We went from my line of fire, and it took us a while, to get around there where that we could get to him. And we actually could, we had to park the four-wheelers and the rhinos, and we had to do some walking. But whenever I seen all the blood, before I ever seen the deer, when I seen the blood, it was like, and I got, and I'm trying to monitor my behavior, but I really can't, because I'm just overcome with excitement and just sheer joy. I mean, just tickled to death. And then whenever that I finally look on over and I see his rack, like, I knew that he was big, obviously, but I did not know how big. And I see his rack, and I just laid right straight down on my back. I didn't count the points or nothing. I just laid right down on the ground in front of God and the landowner and, his wife. And I started going, thank you, God. Thank you, God. That's what I was saying. And she was like, okay. Yeah. Yeah. And he was like, wow, and he's got 18 measurable points. 18. He had, like I said, he's got the nasty stuff coming off of his head, which I think gives him character. I think he's a lot like me. We're similar. That's why we cross paths. And
gotcha.
Yeah, but I had all these old timers. They want to see him, and they're coming up there, and they're like, really, I'm already like not even functioning. I just can't even believe it. And they're like, this is and they're counting, and he's got like 25, 26 of those things coming off of his head, and they're telling me that. I just can't believe it. And then I get him over at the taxidermist and explain to me about that 1-inch rule,
right.
In regards to counting points.
Right.
But still, 18 points.
That's insane. So what do you do at this point? Did you gain your composure and pull it all together, or was it just you couldn't hang on?
I hung on, but it was like I was like, obviously skinning and stuff like that, and I was so wild. that the landowner is like, let me cape in because I don't want you to, put a hole in the pot or something like that. He's like, let me do that part. So I killed him like at 10 o'clock in the morning, and by the time that we got him out and got him ready to go, I didn't get to the taxidermist until 2.
Gotcha.
And I pull up at the taxidermist, and there's these guys, and they've got smaller bucks. That's not being bragging or whatever. It's just the truth. They've got smaller bucks, and they're just like, wow. Like I got proposed to over there at the taxidermist while I was there by one of the hunters who's like, I will leave my wife right now. But, oh my God.
You're like, settle down, buddy.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't even think about you right now. I just killed a trophy buck. You'll have to talk to me later, like whenever that I come back down, which will probably be never. Like I wasn't, this is crazy, but I called my taxidermist like, Ed Wade is coming to score my buck in March.
Ed, you got Ed to come.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's going to come score him. It takes forever to get him back, and I really hate that. Like, I have no patience, which is something that hunting teaches me. It's not one of my strongest virtues, but it's something that hunting teaches me. It teaches me a lot of valuable skills, that I struggle with. And, but yeah, he's coming to score him, and, so I called the taxidermist, and I can't even remember what pose I got this buck in that day. So I have to call him, and I'm saying, I really can't remember. I just said, basically I went in there and looked, and he showed me the different ones, and I'm like, I just want that one. And then, like, after I came down a little bit, I was going through withdrawals, buck withdrawals, like detox, and, like, I got physically sick off of that and had the days, after that.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so when I came back to reality, I called him and I said, I don't even remember what pose I got him in, but, this is the buck of a lifetime, and I want to make sure that I got it right now that I'm thinking clearly. And, and I did pretty good. I could have told him anything. It wouldn't have mattered at that point, and I would have been, all right with it that day, but I couldn't remember. And he's like, no, you picked the best one. And I did really good considering the fact that I couldn't focus on anything.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I did some good decision making despite being like insane in the membrane. I mean, I was wild. And and since that's happened, let me tell you, I have made new friends, new hunting buddies. I got like 200 friend requests in one day. And really? I was like so happy and go lucky on life. Yeah, and if they were wearing camouflage in their profile picture, I accepted them. I was just like, okay, confirm.
Excellent. I think I was in that mix, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you were.
Well, thank you for accepting my friend request. I don't think I was wearing camouflage in my picture, but I'm glad you did it anyway.
Did you have a buck in there?
There's some bucks on my page. Not like the one that you shot, but there are some.
I'm pretty honored. I got a request from Jody.
See? Dusty gets all the requests. I get nothing. I just got to sit in the editing room and make it sound good. Dusty's the
right?
He's the front man, he makes everything look good.
Yeah.
Jody, that's awesome. That's a great story.
It is, and it really is, and it's one of those moments. You couldn't give me $1 million, and it made me any happier. I went and took it for that memory right there. Like that's the buck of a lifetime for me.
That'll stick with. That'll stick. That's something you'll never forget. That's the awesome part about hunting.
That is awesome. Now, Jody, 150 yards is nothing to sneeze at when it comes to a good shot. Who taught you how to shoot?
Well, that is one thing that I grew up with doing from an early age, and that was my dad. Like, instead of buying us, I have a sister, instead of buying us, like, normal little girl gifts for birthdays and stuff like that, he would buy us rifles and pocket knives and stuff like that. So that is, I found a fond affection for guns at an early age.
Gotcha. And you learned how to shoot long range with your dad?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
It is fun when you can shoot out that far.
That's what's so amazing about this whole story is because he was so far away from me, and it's a miracle that I even spotted his horns because he never came out. I never would have had a shot if I hadn't been, scanning and seeking and paying attention. And then the fact that it took me forever to put him in my crosshairs to find him in the scope because he was so far away. And then the fact that I could wait after putting, the crosshairs on him until that I had a kill shot, that is a miracle because I was wild.
Everything had to come together just perfectly for that to happen.
Yep. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'm extremely grateful. I feel honored. It's just an honor. I always said, I told the guys over here at my little hunting store that I go in over here and my friends got to go somewhere else because this one's mine, kind of territorial about it. And whenever that I was in there before that I left, I'm like, I am ready to dominate. I was in there crowing real loud, talking a lot of shit. That's what you do in your favorite hunting store, right? and then this happened. I'm like, I told you, boys, I was ready to dominate. And you guys was just, oh, yeah, whatever. And then Trophy Buck, still, whenever that I think about what he looked like, and I'll never forget, he was more red-colored than other deer that I've ever seen. He was just a beautiful creature, and the meat. He's a stud.
Nice.
He's a heavy deer.
Well, that's awesome, Jody. Congratulations on shooting a fantastic deer this year. What are your plans for next year to make it happen again?
Well, I aim on, that's what the landowner said whenever he seen him. He was like, wow. He's like, he looked at his wife and he says, we're not going to be able to get rid of her now.
Nope.
Because Morgan County's got some fantastic bucks. And Wheeler County does too. I've had a love-hate relationship with this same buck down here for 3 years, and he's like ever elusive. He's so smart. Like, I have so much respect for these smart older deers, the big boys. I do. I just respect them. And that's more of a challenge to me. And, next season, I don't know. I would like to sit here and say I'll go to Morgan County, but just like this year, I did all my planning and prepping here in Wheeler County, and then I took off. I just got my instinct kicked in, and I'm like, I'm just going to listen to my gut, because my spirit and my gut, it never steers me wrong if I just listen. That's like whenever I thought that, big boy, Medusa sitting down there that I had buck fever, and that was just brush, and I didn't want to look that third time through my scope, and I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad that I learned to listen to my instincts, those God-given instincts, that whenever that you listen, miracles happen.
Gotcha. It is kind of funny how that sixth sense just kind of shows up, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's why I'm sitting here and like, with everything that was going on and all the movement, how that, it was a miracle that I seen him that far away and then looked twice and thought I was seeing him.
It was a miracle. Spike buck come up sniffing around,
right.
Moved you on down the hill.
That little bastard, I'm telling you what, me or him one was going to be coming off that rock if he got on there. I knew I had to do something quick because he was 5 feet from me, and he wasn't scared. He was interested. And, the funny thing is, the does are so stupid, too. The bucks get stupid in rut, and that's what we want, we'll wait for him to make a mistake. Well, the doe, there was a big doe down here whenever that I shot Big Boy, and he was getting ready to probably, no doubt, spread his seed. And she just watched her potential lover die. Okay, she just watches him die. And she just stands there, and she'll look at him, and she'll look up where I'm at, and she'll look at him, and I'm thinking, you're going to have to do something, or you're going to, I wouldn't have shot her, but there's been a lot of people that would have. She seen no harm in it, and she stood there for 20 minutes. I'm thinking, how stupid.
Right. Fascinating. So,
yeah.
Do you think that the hunting industry is a male-dominated industry?
I do.
Gotcha. And is it similar to your line of work, where you're the boss at this point?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right. I've had a lot of negative comments and all this has happened. I attributed some of it up to, different upbringings, different childhoods, and some of it was just pure out jealousy, because I'm a woman and because I killed a trophy buck.
What's your saying to tell the guys out there? What is there something you want to tell them now that the women are coming around shooting big bucks?
Well, I can only speak for myself whenever that I say I'm just getting started.
That's awesome, and that's the guys better watch out. The women are coming in the hunting industry, and it's an open door for them. Come on, women. It's not going to be a sexist matter. It's going to be the women are welcome. The younger ladies are welcome. The youth ladies, come on in. It's an open door, and the guys that are getting outbeat by the women are just going to have to get over their jealousy and suck it up and get on with hunting.
That's right. The taxidermist, when I take him over there, he was like, this is what his suggestion for me was. He was like, you just need to go home and clean your rifle and put it up. And I'm like, why's that? And he said, because your hunting days is over. You're never even going to see a buck that big again. And I was kind of disheartened by that for a minute. And then I thought, no, I'm just getting started. I've got 2 little girls that I hope follows in my footsteps. I took my oldest one hunting before. And she's not as interested in it as what that I would like right now, but she's just 11. So, yeah, there's a lot more to come, and I'm just getting started. And I'm telling you that this is where the fun's at for women. It doesn't matter, you know, if you're a man or a woman. When you develop a passion for something like this, and it's good and healthy for you, it makes you feel alive. It's truly living, and it's freedom. And I think if people could get in touch with that and the respect that comes with it, you know, and that they would hunt too, and they would never want to give it up, because that's something I don't ever want to give up, no matter how busy life gets. I'm all in. Like, I got a new bow last week. You know, I had a bow, and I got a new one last week as part of my graduation present. It's beautiful, by the way. I mean, it's so pretty. It's kind of like perseverance. I haven't got a name for her yet, but I will. Like, I haven't bonded with her enough to be able to name her. But she's beautiful, and I just think about, I just wish more people could get in touch with the high. You know, it's like I was telling him earlier, turkey hunting, I'm a very unsuccessful turkey hunter. Like, I'm very high strung, and I don't have a lot of patience. But when I hit that call and one gobbles back at me, it makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck. It is one of the wildest, God-given highs that there is.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I think that's truly living, and it's vibrant living. And it's, for me, when I am eating fish that I've caught or a deer that I killed, I just feel like that's the way that God wants us to be.
Completely agree with that statement. It's an all natural, God-given high is what it is.
Yes.
And it's fantastic. It's just the best. Jody, this has been awesome. And I love the details that you shared with us. And it felt like we were sitting next to you on the rock, going through every single little detail. And that picture that you shared was fantastic. And I can't wait to share it on the Big Buck Registry again and get this story out there, because now we know the rest of the story. And that's what we like.
Right. On my drive up, I was like, you need to borrow your buddy's GoPro. You know, on my drive up there, I'm like, hell, you start getting all that ego into it, you won't kill nothing.
Right.
But maybe that was my gut again, and I didn't listen, because there would have been nothing like letting people watch how far away from me he was, how long of a shot that was. One shot, one kill, dirt gnat.
Right.
I mean, I would have loved to have captured it on video.
It would have been cool. But that's why we're reliving it right now on the Big Buck Podcast. Now you can listen to it forever. And you can just say, somebody says, hey, tell me the story. I said, hey, go listen to the Big Buck Registry's podcast. You can hear the whole story, and you can play it again and again.
Right. And I'm on that, and you need to look that up.
Absolutely. So if you had one and only one hunting tip to share with somebody that's your best trick of all time, what would it be?
I think it would be pay attention, because a lot of times I get out there and I get bored when I don't see any activity. I want to get on my phone, or I want to smoke, or I want to do something because I'm so high strung. And I think it's untelling probably how many deer that I have just let walk by, never even seeing them, because I wasn't paying attention and I wasn't embracing the moment and just being right where I was at and being grateful for every second.
That's a good tip. Dusty, that's a good tip.
It's simple, but, I mean, that's made all the difference for me this season.
That's awesome. Well, Jody, this has been fantastic, and thank you so much for joining us on the Big Buck Podcast. I'll send you all the links and let you know when it's coming out. And, I can't wait to listen to the show.
It's been an honor. Thank you guys for allowing me this opportunity. It's something that I'll never forget.
Awesome tip, Jody. Awesome tip.
You know, you can take all the preparation in the world, and it doesn't matter if you're not paying attention. I can go without smelling good for a couple of weeks and put months and months into prepping and all that, and it doesn't matter if I'm not aware of my surroundings.
Oh, yeah. You can do all that prep work, but if you're not ready for that one moment, that one exact moment that you have, that one small window of opportunity, and you don't capitalize on it, you'll be kicking yourself for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Jody, I was going to tell you, you was talking about going without makeup and all that. There is Doe Girl. It's a scent-free, scent blocker makeup.
Really?
Yeah, it's called Doe Girl, DEAUX Girl, GIRL. Check them out. They're on Facebook. You can find them on Facebook.
Yep, right, some of our old friends from
Tina Kane.
And Allison. Allison's a rep.
Allison,
and she's out of Kentucky too, right?
Or Allison Robertson O'Nan.
There you go.
Okay. That's what I told the landowner. He was like, we got to take a picture of this and all this. And I'm like, well, let me put on some mascara or something at least. I'm like, damn, I wish I wore makeup. And he's like, you don't need that. You're beautiful. You don't need that. And I'm like, but looking back on it, I wish I'd got more pictures and, you know, I'd have been a little bit more presentable. But honestly, you know, this is not about me. This is about the buck.
Right.
This is about he's getting the recognition that he deserves. And I don't hunt for the recognition.
I do love the picture. You look so happy in the picture. You're on cloud nine. It's awesome.
Yeah, I was free.
There ain't nothing better there.
Nothing better than that feeling. Excellent. Well, Jody, we'll let you go, but we would love to have you back again to talk some more about deer hunting. You definitely know what you're doing. You've got some passion behind you, which we love, which is exactly why we wanted you to come on and tell that story. So open invitation to come back and join us on the Big Buck Podcast anytime.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, will do, guys. Good hunting to you guys. I wish you luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, Dusty, what do you think about that?
Oh boy,
she was amazing. She really was.
That was probably. How do you describe that story, Jay?
Yeah, I felt like I was a fly on the wall, actually a fly on her shoulder, watching this whole thing unravel, and I wanted to have like earplugs just so I didn't have to hear all the F-bombs.
Oh man. Wow. Yeah, Jody, great story.
No.
I mean, phenomenal story, and thanks for telling it. It was awesome. It really was. I mean, I'm glad we told her to let her rip, Tater Chip, just because the real deal story got recorded. And that's what we were after.
Yeah. And Jody, you're a great sport, and we're just picking on you. We know you just talk the way you talk. And the passion came through loud and clear. That's what we wanted. That's what you brought us. And we just cannot thank you enough. We are honored to have you on our show.
Absolutely. You know, I got to shout out to Griff and thanks for getting us tuned in with Jody. And it was so interesting and so unique and so different than so many ways that, it was one that we went out of the box and actually it really was a great story.
Yep. It was fantastic. Hey, did you see that piebald buck that guy shot, Jerry from, was it Missouri?
Yeah, I sure did.
That was crazy, huh?
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of bucks, man. I'll tell you what, you open up my Facebook right now and there's just bucks everywhere. I'm like, man, why can't I be right there with them?
See, this is part of the depressing part. Is like we created these great environments for people to share their photos. And you want to do the same thing. And right now it's not happening.
Yeah. But the greatest thing about this everything is that, with Chubby Tines Outdoors and the Big Buck Registry, we see a ton of bucks.
We do. And it makes it seem like it's easy to do, but it's not. It's not easy to kill a big deer.
Absolutely not. But it's one of the things where it's almost like, all right, this is how I see it. I'm throwing out some of my opinions on what I do this for. I can look through all these bucks and I pick out 10 and I save the picture on my phone. I really do. I save, a stranger's buck on my phone and I sit down and I look through and I'm like, man, I'd really like to shoot one like that right there. But if it had the characteristics of this one right here, I build a buck right on my phone. And I'm thinking in my head that someday this build a buck that I've got stored in my mind, I'm building my own buck. I'm going to harvest him one day. I'm going to kill this buck. It's so different, but yet so cool because I can build my own buck in my mental picture that I want to kill someday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It really is.
I love looking at all the pictures, but in a sense, it's created another level of mental anguish that I don't need, but I created my own monster here. So, and what I mean by that is I look at these pictures every day. I see people taking big deer, and I'm like, I should be able to do this, but I'm not doing it. So, but the reality is you hunt hard, and all these people hunted hard, and there are a bunch of others that hunt equally as hard who probably aren't filling their tag. But it depends on where you live, depends on the harvest and how many, the population, all that kind of stuff. You've certainly passed on some deer. I've passed on some deer, but I'm not looking for that particular deer. I don't want to shoot a small deer. I'm looking for something a little more mature.
Yeah, I agree to that. And that brings up the Chubby Tines tip of the day. And this one is going to be that we're getting into late season.
Yes.
And we're getting into the mental game at this point.
It is a mental game. This is exactly what you're exactly right.
It's one of the things where, you've hunted hard. And I'm going to say this is probably one of the years that I've hunted my tail off. and I'm getting a little bit discouraged, and I'm starting to question my skill level, and that's okay. That's what this is all about. That's what it's supposed to happen. Right now, this time of year, how many days you got left in season, Jay?
I have, at the time of this recording, so I have 1 day left, technically, as of the day this airs.
Okay,
for gun, but then I've got another week of bow.
Okay, so you got roughly 6 days left.
Right.
You to the point where you got to grind it out. And that's my tip. It's grind time. You've set out there. You've put your time in. We go till February 1st here in Ohio archery.
Right.
We got a late muzzleloader coming. Shotgun season ends tomorrow, which will be a Sunday. So right now is grind time. It's going to take a week for the deer to start coming out and not getting lead slung at them. So it's going to take a week for them to settle back in, and then archery should pick back up where you can actually harvest a mature buck that's cruising for some food, or some of the younger does still be coming in heat possibly. It's grind time, and get out there. You can't kill them from the couch. Some people, fortunate enough, they're hunting camps right off their porch, so they can put a couch out there, but that's beside the point.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, get out there, grind it out, finish up the end of the season like it's the beginning of season, because this right here is some of your best times to harvest mature buck. They're going to be hitting food sources. We're going to get some snow coming in. It's going to happen. Snow's coming. There's no doubt about it here in Ohio. And in other states, snow's coming and the cold temperatures are coming. It's time to get the gear out, get saddled up, and ride this horse to the end of the season. Don't get discouraged. Keep yourself in the game and grind it out.
Exactly. That's why I went out today, is because, I'm grabbing hours as I can grab them, and amongst all the other things I have to do during the day. But I was able to get out for the last 2 hours of sunset, which was great. I didn't see anything. I found some big bear tracks in the snow, but in my head, I was like, I know that I'm being challenged mentally and that it's weighing on me right now, but I'm going to go anyway.
You got to go. If you're going to kill a deer, you got to grind it out.
Yep.
You got to just keep going no matter what. Deer are funky right now. Everybody's rifle, shotgun, any kind of firearm season's been in. The deer are going to be a little different right now. You're not going to see the deer that you've been seeing. It's going to be like, man, the whole thing's changed. My wood's so different. You're going to want to move all your stuff. Don't do all that.
Yep.
Stay where you're at. They will be back. The deer will come back to where you've been seeing them. They're going to get back on a pattern, and then you're going to kill your buck. But right now is a mental, physical, and emotional roller coaster. Grind it out.
Yep.
You got to stick with it. You got to stay in the stand. You got to grind it out. That's my tip of the day, and it's tough, and I know it is. I feel you. I'm in the same boat you are. If you haven't harvested your buck this year, grind it out.
Yep. Now, for example, the other day when I spotted the buck and I couldn't get a shot off because of my foggy scope, the deer that I tracked that day were doing the same thing in the same area, and I think they were the same deer I was tracking yesterday. Except that instead of breaking right to go across the old train bed, they broke left and went as far as I could go. And as I'm following the track, all I can see is this big orange sign in the distance. And the tracks are going right for it. And I'm getting closer and closer. And before I know it, I get to the sign, and the deer will run right by the sign. There's probably 4 or 5 that I was tracking, but one buck track in the middle of it was the safety zone.
The no trespassing sign.
No hunting beyond this point. And I could see their tracks, and they went good 250 yards into the piece. Like, you gotta be kidding me.
They know what's up.
Right. So they're doing these types of things, but they do come back. So I'm laying off that spot for a while, and I'll go in. I'll probably go back in at the last day and see what I can stir up.
That's all you can do is grind it out.
That's it. So
stick with it. It's a mental roller coaster. Bad one. It can be bad. It can get you down and out. You just want to throw your gear in the closet and walk away from it.
Right.
I mean, I've been at that point. Last week, I was just like, man, I've done something wrong. Something's going on. I wasn't seeing the deer that I'd been seeing. Well, people's been in scouting out for a shotgun week here in Ohio, and it's just like, man, come on, get through this week, let things settle back down, and grind it out. I'm going to go till I can't go.
And this is what makes that classic. It was the last hour of the last day of the season, and then I killed the biggest buck of my life story. This is like the Jim Coger story.
Absolutely.
From last year. Same thing.
Yep. And, it's one.
Or I think Greg Ritz told the same story, didn't he?
Yeah.
Last day of the hunt in that area, and finally it comes together.
Right. It's
keep going.
Yeah, you got to. My whole theory is you say you burn out on it now, and it's tough to say that when you're hunting. Season only comes around a couple months out of the year. But in 2 months from now, you're like, man, I can't wait till hunting season comes in.
Yeah, you'll be kicking yourself.
Yeah, so
I should have gone at one more day.
Right. And what's going to happen is, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. And I kind of predict the future. You're going to grind it out, and you're going to see that buck of a lifetime. And it's just going to give you that boost that you needed to keep hammering on it. And you can only hope and pray that you get a shot on him.
That's it.
I sometimes I think seeing him just enough to keep me there and mentally satisfied.
Yep. What I've got to deal with is tracks. You get on a track, that they're fresh tracks. They were just there, and you're bumping them, and you may still never see the deer, but they were just there, and it gets you back out there to do it again. So great.
Yeah, it's totally different in New Hampshire than it is in Ohio, but
it is.
It's one of them things where, I learned from Jay because he's you're a mobile hunter.
Yes, very much so.
And in New Hampshire's, you got to be mobile, and you got to be, your tracking levels got to be top notch, and you got to be able to get out there and, almost do a grid layout in your mental mind where the deer is going to go and where they're headed and what's going on, and we're here in Ohio where we're set up on field sides and creek bottoms and, hunting some big timber that's kind of open where you can see. And it's a totally different program every state you're in. With that being said, grind it out.
You know the land you're in, and just it doesn't matter where you are. This particular technique, get out there. Don't let your mental game overcome you.
Right. And then another thing, you get through the rifle, the shotgun, the muzzleloader season, and you're not seeing deer. It's time to move to where the deer, you're seeing deer.
Yes.
If it snows, go find where they're moving at. The snow is an educational device.
Yes. It reveals a heck of a lot.
Yeah. They'll let you know where they're frequently traveling to, that you can get set up. Maybe they switch routes. Instead of going on the north side of your property, they're going on the south side of your property, or the east side or the west side. Just travel around a little bit. You're not seeing deer. Go find them in the snow. If you got snow, hopefully it snows, and use that snow to educate yourself where your deer are late season.
Right. That's exactly right. Well, that's a great tip, Dusty. And I think this has been a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jody, and for getting on with us. And thanks again to Griff for hooking us up. And
yep.
Excellent show. And thank you for the listeners that's tuned in with us.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in with us once again on the Big Buck Podcast. Thank you for PA John for sending in a review and giving us his true feelings. And hopefully we'll get some more information on that. And Dusty, go ahead.
I was going to say, man, I'm excited. Did I tell you I was excited?
Why are you excited, Dusty?
Man, we are planning things out to head to the ATA show.
Yes, we're going to be at the ATA show this year. And it'd be our first time. We went to the Great American Outdoor Show last year. But what's coming up, we've got the ATA in Indianapolis, and that is from, January 8th through the 10th. So if you're going to the ATA and you want to hook up with us, shoot us an email to ata@bigbuckregistry.com. Maybe we'll do a little meetup at the show. Sound good?
Absolutely.
Excellent. And the Great American Outdoor Show is also coming up, and that is February 7th through the 15th this year down in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And we will be there as well.
Absolutely.
So in the meantime, Dusty, how can we reach you?
Facebook.com/Chubby Tines Outdoors. Look me up at Dusty Hunt Neck, and you can also find me at Antler Life right there on Facebook. Jay, how can the people get in touch with you at the Big Buck Registry?
All right, there's a bunch of different ways.
First, Here we go.
Big Buck everywhere, Big Buck. First, I'd like to invite you to join us on iTunes if you have an Apple device or a computer. And that's at www.bigbuckregistry.com/iTunes. You can also join us on Twitter at www.twitter.com/bigbuckregistry. If you'd like to listen to our show on a different network instead of iTunes, something more Android-related or Microsoft-related phones, you can go to www.bigbuckregistry.com/Stitcher, and that's STITCHER. If you'd like to share a photo of a deer that you shot on the Big Buck Registry page, go to www.bigbuckregistry.com/mybuck. You can give us a call at 724-613-2825. And if you would like to do a share for share, and this is kind of a popular thing on Facebook, and what we request is that you go to our site, www.bigbuckregistry.com/S4S, and fill out the form, and we'll take a look at it. And if we think it's a good fit, we'll share and we'll exchange. But just because you fill it out doesn't mean we're going to share your page. Just forewarned. So that's it, Dusty. That's all I got, man.
Wow. Big buck everywhere.
A big buck.
Big buck.
Yes, sir. Well,
awesome. Thanks for tuning in with us.
Yes, thank you for tuning in. And Jody, thank you again for joining us on the Big Buck Podcast and telling us about the Medusa buck that you shot.
The Medusa buck.
Well, I'm Jay Scott.
I'm Dusty Phillips.
This is the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. See you next week.
Can't wait.